Previously on 24.
AndyManCam.
Well, ladies and gents, here we are at the complicated science part, lining up the back wheel with the front wheel. I don't know if you heard me mention it, but I ran this bike with the back wheel a bit out of line for a bit too long, and it just destroyed the chain, and that's why I'm in this mess that I am now. And the reason this happened is because I relied on these marks on the swing arm here, you see them? Which are put there by the manufacturer very helpfully to help us to line up the back wheel with the front wheel. The problem is, that's assuming that everything here has been manufactured absolutely perfectly, and sadly that's just not the case. Even on the best, most expensive bikes in the world, there will be tolerance discrepancies. Oh, look at that. You see that? That's one of my O-rings. Anyway, yeah, tolerance discrepancies, which mean that if you line up this second notch here, which I've got on this side, if I line it up directly with the second notch on the other side, that doesn't mean, unfortunately, that the wheel is going to be in line with the rest of the bike. So what I'm going to do, my clever little handy trick, is I've looped a piece of string. I've looped it around the rear chain ring and then around the front sprocket. You can see here. What this allows us to see is that there's a gap between the sprocket and the cotton on this side, and on this side it's going around a corner. And what this tells us is that the sprocket isn't in line. The front here needs to go left, and that will reduce this gap here and increase that gap there, and in an ideal world they will be perfectly in line, which means the rear sprocket and the front sprocket are perfectly in line. That's the theory, that's the science, so see if I can make it work. Now, the sharper tools among you will have noticed there's no chain on here, so there's no tension holding this wheel from slipping backwards at the moment. But what I've done is I've just nipped the axle bolt, just tight enough so that I can use the adjusters to make it move, but tight enough that it's going to hold itself still, just so I can line it up, because what I want to do is get to a point where I know what the difference is between the marks on this side and the marks on the other side. So the gap is on this side, my side of the sprocket. So what I need to do is adjust this adjuster outwards, because that will push the rear end of the wheel that way and bring the front end of the wheel towards me, and that's what I want. So let's have a quick check. So we're a lot closer, but as you can see there's still a slight gap here. You need to adjust it a little bit more. Of course, another way that you can cause the same effect is to move this adjuster further inwards. But of course, with doing this, you're going to have to adjust it a little bit, and then you're going to need to hit it or kick it to send the wheel that way. Put a little bit of tension back on just to make contact. There we go. Let's see where we're at. Right then, well, I've gone backwards and forwards a few times, got to a point where I'm pretty confident that that is completely in line. Front sprocket, rear sprocket, they're about as in line as they're going to get, and about as accurately as a piece of white cotton is going to be able to tell me. So, what I now know from this is on this side, I'm just before the second notch counting from the left, but on this side, I'm just after the first notch. So on the other side, to be in line, there's a discrepancy of about that much. That's almost an entire notch. So what I can do now is to mark this, and then I'll always have my return calibrated, if you like, point to go back to. So because I want to avoid this faff next time, I'm going to do exactly that, and just give this a little scratch by that mark there. So there we go. So now I have a couple of datum points, a known good straight setup that I can always come back to for when the next time I take the wheel out, which is going to be quite soon because this tyre hasn't got a huge amount of life left in it. Yeah, so that's done. I can get rid of the piece of string and get the chain on. So here we have DID black and gold X-ring chain. I'll try and get this on the bike without dragging any of it on the floor in all of this aluminium swarf and chisel. I imagine that's going to be easier said than done. Now, in the chain packet, I've got the chain itself and then this little bi-pack, if you want to call it that, which has 4 X-rings, a little packet of grease, and then the rivet master link in there for me to close the chain up with. Don't need that just yet though. So what I'm going to do is leave this waxy piece of paper here and then feed the chain on from it so that it doesn't drag on the floor. Now before I go any further, I'm just going to wipe off some of the cack that's in this rubber chain channel thingy bobby here. Don't want to be contaminating this chain with abrasive nonsense before I've even started. Look at that. That's horrible. But yeah, once you get this gritty sandy stuff in between your chain links, that's just like running it over sandpaper. It's going to wear out super quick. at that. Isn't that incredible? Squirt WD-40 and all this shit just jumps onto the rag. It's impressive stuff. Is there anything it can't do? Have they tried WD-40 to cure cancer yet? Right, I think that's clean enough. Let's get the chain on. Oh, here we go. That'll help matter somewhat. Round she comes. Come on. There you go. Like that from you, please. You stay on your sprocket. And there we have it. Chain is all the way around. And ever so slightly shorter than I imagined it would be. Right, you hold there for a second. Just need to adjust these back a little bit to get a bit more space in there. Now, count how many. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 20. Let's go with 20 for now. So we've got enough space on this side. 1, 2, 19. It's a shame 19's a lot. Oh, what a faff, what a faff. One back on this side. And kick it. Oh, nearly. Almost lost it. Right, hopefully. There we go. Marvellous. A bit of slack there as well. We're lined up. Ready to hook these two mothers together. Just going to clean these links off. Make sure they're nice and shiny and dust and grit and badger shit free. Don't want no badger shit in there. And then we need our little sachet of grease. Liberally splurge it around the links. The idea being that this grease is held in by the X-ring, O-ring, ring-a-ding, ding-a-dings. There we go, plenty in there as well. I think that'll do it. You bastard. Make me jump. Alright, well they are... Don't you dare. They are full on greased. Stick a little bit around the edges of this as well. I'm getting this shit bloody everywhere. Whatever you do, once you've covered this in grease, don't drop it on the floor because you'll pick up all the shit and grit and dirt and crap and scum and blur that's down there. Now, with clean fingers, cleanish fingers for a motorbike rider, 2 O-rings to go on the link like that, and that will then pop through the holes on the back of the chain. Give a bit of elbow grease, that's got it. Yeah, I might have over-greased that a little bit, you know, but that's alright. Stick some on there as well. Everyone's a winner. Don't bloody drop it. Then, your remaining 2 O-rings, obviously it doesn't matter if you get them covered in grease because they're going to get covered in grease anyway. Push them onto your links like that, and then whack your cover plate over there like that. At which point, you will now need a tool again, because as an interference fit there, they're going to need some force to push that onto those pins there. Here's one I prepared earlier. So with this tool, the pressing pin part, which is now firmly stuck in there, the pressing pin part, Peter picked a pikey's penis, actually spins round because we need it not to push the pin out of the middle this time. And then for this, we're actually going to need to rotate the chain around. Be careful not to let it fall apart because that would be truly disastrous. And then stick the back end around the back. There's 2 indents on there, see, that line up with the pins on the back of the chain. This piece then sits on the top of the press part there. There's a nice little hole for that to go into. Line that up there. We go on to number A. Number A. Penis. Everything's lined up, and then press it on. Probably going to need a spanner for this, but don't go crazy. You don't want to push it so hard that you over compress your O-rings. And what that will do is then press 2 side plates together. It's probably worth backing off and checking that you haven't gone too far once or twice. That's almost there. I think just a little bit more. Just to make sure. That is 11.17. The master link comes in at 11.17, so that's there. Now all that's left to do is to actually rivet those links so that they can't come off again, because that could still theoretically slide out. Clean it off so I can see what I'm doing here now. So we need to break the tool apart again, and then we put it together without the anvil piece in there, because you see this kind of little cupped recess here, that's going to spread out the end of the rivet to make it hold itself on. And for that, relocate it onto position B. Now this is the bit I really hate because I never know how much is too much, and I'm always worried about compressing the O-rings as well. The last time I got one of these chains, it actually had like a 3-pronged fork spacer thingy, which really helped with this because you put it in and it goes around the O-rings and stops you from squeezing it too hard, but for some reason this chain didn't come with one. What's that about, DID? Scrimping bastards. So just like before, I think give it a nip and then back off and see what it looks like. So there we go, it should have an obviously dished look to it and a little bit of a lip you can kind of catch your nail on, which I don't have yet. So let's stonk it on a little bit more, shall we? Yep, that's got it. You can see the difference there, that's all spread out. This is all still tight together. So now for the other one, and for that, I'm going to spin the back end round to get to the right side of it. And clamp away. Lovely, and there it is, 2 nicely splayed out rivets. Oh, a lovely, clean, free, almost perfectly adjusted already chain. All we need to do is adjust it properly, get the cover back on, and we're hot to trot. And then finally, after a little bit of drama, there it is. Nice, shiny, brand new gold chain and aluminium rear sprocket. Shiny, new, snickety and quiet, lovely jubbly. On the most disgustingly dirty Versys I think the world has ever seen. The state of that back wheel, that's hideous, isn't it? The manual for the Versys says that the chain should be adjusted to a slack of 25 to 35 millimeters. I've gone for the wider end of that scale. And you're supposed to do this while the bike's on the side stand, because the chain actually gets tighter as you weight the back wheel. So I've always found this equates to 40 mil of slack being a good amount while the bike is actually on the paddock stand. That's that, new chain, with new gearing as well. So let's get out there and see how this bad boy performs. Oh yes, with the new slightly off-center left-hand chain adjuster bolt, which I had to fix. That was not the most fun I've had this week, but never mind, let's get out and ride it.